Friends, now I'll be taking one of the most important aspects of Indian foreign policy, right? Without understanding this topic, you will not be able to understand Indian foreign policy. Although I have explained to you Indian foreign policy under a separate heading, including the new and latest trend, but as I said, there was a time when our foreign policy revolved around the concept of non-alignment. That was the fundamental pillar of India's foreign policy during entire period of Cold War. But after Cold War, and especially in the present times, our look east policy or act east policies have become fundamental pillar of Indian foreign policy today. In fact, it's very difficult to think of Indian foreign policy without understanding look east policy or act east policy. Now, what exactly is look east policy? The context in which it emerged, right? How it transformed, how look east policy transformed into act east policy. The actors behind this, and the what should I say? It is part of India's strategic imperative. Right. What exactly is look east policy? It is an effort to cultivate extensive economic and strategic relations with nations of Southeast Asia. What are the nations of Southeast Asia? I already explained in great detail. ASEAN, that is Association of Southeast Asian Nations. 10 nations like Singapore, Brunei, Thailand, Malaysia, Myanmar, and all that, right? The purpose is, right, standing as regional power and a counterweight to the strategic influence of China, right? And who initiated this policy? It was the then Prime Minister of India, P.V. Narasimha Rao, right? Later on, as I said, it was vigorously pursued by his successor, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, who even conceptualized, I repeat, only conceptualized our Act East policy, right? Did not stay in power long enough to ensure that policy gets implemented, right? That was, I think, left to his, not immediate successor, but immediate successor within the party, that is Narendra Modi in 2014, right? So the purpose was of our look east policy was to promote economic cooperation with ASEAN countries, that is Southeast Asian countries, and try to develop our own country. And that was roughly the time when China was emerging very strongly on the economic front, right? So as a result, to contain growing influence of China in that region. This was the important objective of look east policy. And why we look towards east, why not towards the west? I'll explain. You will understand as I proceed with the explanation. Right? Now, what was the context? See, whenever you discuss any international problem, try to understand its context. What was the context? Context was end of Cold War, collapse of Soviet Union, and we were very friendly country with Soviet Union during the entire period of Cold War, including to the extent of antagonizing America despite our self-proclaimed policy of non-alignment, right? So as a result, we were extremely close to Soviet Union, and with the end of Cold War, Soviet Union collapsed, right? And collapsed into and got split into 16 different republics. All those countries like Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Azerbaijan, right? All of them which were earlier part of the mighty Soviet Empire, they came out, right? Including countries like Ukraine, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. All these countries came out of the clutches of Soviet Union. In fact, Soviet Union was reduced to Russia, right? So the thing is that when Russia itself was under economic turmoil, how do you think India would have looked towards Russia? Then just have a look at the domestic situation of that time. After Mandir issues, constant political instability of Rajiv Gandhi government involved in Bofors scandal, kicked out of power. Then 89, VP Singh becoming Prime Minister. On the issue of Ayodhya, he brought Mandal Commission, which again created social turmoil in Indian society, right? And L.K. Advani starting his Rath Yatra to counter that, and finally leading to the collapse of VP Singh government, Chandrasekhar coming there for a brief period, again elections, and India's economic situation was that our foreign exchange was not enough to, not sufficient for us to import oil beyond 15 days. And imagine if India unable to import oil, right? Our whole economy would have come to standstill. And anyway, Indian economy touched the rock bottom because of, I have no hesitation in saying the foolish economic policies pursued by post-independent leadership of the country. You should know that model of state-centric development has been a global failure. Socialism as a principle of statecraft has failed all over the world, as the experience of last 200-300 years suggest, right? And India realized this, again, let me tell you, not out of choice, sheer out of compulsion. When we had nothing else, right? When we have nowhere to go, it is only then India chooses the right policy, right? This has been the history. That's why I normally say that Indian reforms, economic reforms, are crisis driven. We don't reform without crisis, right? Even today, a party like BJP, which openly prides itself being of pro-business, pro-reforms, pro-investment, even that party is quite reluctant to shed its power, to shed its control, and continues to pursue an economic policy which is quite at variance with free trade. Anyway, that's besides the point. So let me come to, all this led to international situation. India lost its only reliable friend, right? So we were left in a world which was, if not hostile, at least friendless, right? Then crisis within the country, right? Crisis like balance of payment situation, right? Foreign exchange crisis, Gulf War, rising oil prices, right? Collapse of rupee-ruble agreement. All this left India alone without any ally in global politics, right? And question arises, why in that crisis India started looking towards East? Because with ASEAN countries, we never had very good relations. Although historically we might be having cultural, religious and other kinds of ties. But the thing is that during entire period of Cold War, especially during Nehru's regime, we were never friendly with ASEAN countries, right? In fact, two important countries of ASEAN, Philippines and Thailand, were in military pact with America, SEATO, right? That was at total variance with our foreign policy of non-alignment, right? So because of all these reasons, so why suddenly India started looking towards East, that is Southeast Asia? The reason is that where else we would have looked? Soviet Union collapsed. China anyway was inimical country, right? Come to the West, Pakistan, another inimical country, right? Then West Asia itself was under turmoil after 10 years of long war, Arab-Israel war. Then there was problem of oil. Then Saddam Hussein invading Kuwait. It was already on fire, right? Then Europe and America were too far. It is in this context, 4-5 reasons which I said, India started looking towards Southeast Asia, right? And we, as I said, purpose was to cultivate close relations with Southeast Asian nations so that Indian economy can come out of its turmoil. And secondly, at least, if not substantially, at least to an extent, cut down growing Chinese influence in that region, growing Chinese economic influence, right? So that is the reason why India started looking towards East, right? And one of the purpose was also that in the domestic level, in the domestic phase, develop our Northeast, right? So please remember, our look east policy will not achieve its desired end unless and until we develop our Northeast and find a connectivity of our Northeast with Southeast Asia. Number one. Two, cultivating countries like Myanmar and Bangladesh, right? That is the reason why despite certain discords with Bangladesh, we continue to cultivate Bangladesh, right? Please hear my lecture on India-Bangladesh relations, right? These two countries are very critical, and equally critical is infrastructural development in our Northeast, right? So with this purpose, we thought that we will not only be able to have mutually beneficial relations economically, but we will also be in a position to contain growing economic influence of China in that region, right? Then we started economic cooperation with all these countries, right? And the factors, besides all these factors, the factors which were responsible for this kind of cooperation was, as I said, collapse of Soviet Union, rise of China, end of Cold War, new economic policy, and that was roughly the time when India started the process of economic reforms. Although there are many theories which says that it started during the time of Rajiv Gandhi himself and other things, but substantial reforms. In fact, if you ask my opinion, I will say even these reforms were quite half-baked or even quarter-baked reforms. Because political leadership in India, irrespective of parties, do not believe in economic reforms. They reform only under compulsion. Only our reforms are crisis-driven. But whatever reforms, okay, we say we started from, the inward-looking character of Indian economy ended with 1991, right? And disintegration of, all these factors contributed for reforms, right? So, this is the statement of Jashwant Singh, who was foreign minister in Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee's cabinet. That is, in past, engagement was built on idealistic conceptions of brotherhood, shared experience of colonialism and cultural ties. At present, it is to be determined by trade, investment, production, as much by history and culture. He very aptly explained the compulsions for coming together, reasons or the basis for coming together. It couldn't have been simply ideological reasons or historical reasons or cultural reasons, right? It had to be based on core points of mutual economic benefit, right? Shared, right? Idealistic condition. At present, it is to be determined by trade, investment and production. These were the watchwords for our cooperation, right? Now, what were the ingredients of India's Look East policy? I already explained. Strengthening of partnership with ASEAN. ASEAN is regarded as nucleus of our Look East policy. Policy towards China, overt engagement and covert containment. Since our trade started improving with China, and that was also the time when China started making right kind of noises by talking about peaceful rise of China. Of course, that was only a facade, that was only a cover-up. Our leadership was foolish enough not to realize, the real reason behind these kind of gestures. China was simply buying time, right? So, of course, leadership at that time, when China was slightly mature enough. When China came out with string of pearls, India came out with Look East, right? So that was the time when India started learning the process of, especially Indian foreign policy makers, started learning the process of tit for tat, or paying back your enemy in its own coin, or speaking in the language which they understand most, right? As I said, that was beginning of the process, right? That is why overt engagement and covert containment, right? Then, as I said, these were the ingredients of our Look East policy. Robust political engagement with Japan, South Korea, engagement with US, bilateral relations with prominent countries like Singapore and Vietnam. All these were important aspects of our Look East policy. Then launching regional and sub-regional initiatives in partnership with Thailand, right? Prominent in them was BIMSTEC and Mekong-Ganga Pact. I'll explain it to you in a separate topic called BIMSTEC, or my second lecture on Look East policy. Then participation in all economic, political and security platforms emerging in the region. Engagement with civil society established, right, in India, ASEAN, eminent person groups, right? India is present in all major platforms of launched in the region by ASEAN. Please hear my lecture on ASEAN and one more lecture on India and ASEAN. You will get an idea. On all important forums of ASEAN, India is a member, right? And moreover, India has free trade agreement with ASEAN, which it does not have within SAARC. So you can understand the kind of importance which Government of India attaches to the success of its Look East policy, and the kind of importance we attach to ASEAN region, right? And there has been significant achievements. As I said, there is not much to explain. You can read it. There has been significant growth of trade and investment. India is present in all platforms of ASEAN. Countries of East and Southeast Asia are supportive of India's greater engagement in this region. Smaller areas of this region view India as a effective counterbalance to China, right? And region also has area of convergences between Asia and USA, Indo-US strategic dialogue. Many times USA has emphasized that they do not only expect India to look east, but to engage east and stay east. That means India should play a role much beyond economic cooperation. This is, if you want me to explain in simple words, America wants India to expand its engagement beyond economic cooperation. Beyond economic cooperation and building of infrastructures and all that, right? Then BIMSTEC is the result of this. What is BIMSTEC? Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multilateral and Technical and Economic Cooperation, and Mekong-Ganga Cooperation, right? Regional cooperation agreements excluding China. And through BIMSTEC, we have very intelligently excluded Pakistan also. Whereas all other members of SAARC are members of BIMSTEC except Pakistan, right? Because India realized after 2014 that there is no point in concentrating on SAARC. Anyway, it is a failure. So, the new government literally made SAARC irrelevant by excluding Pakistan and started concentrating more on BIMSTEC, that is Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral and Economic Cooperation. So all these projects, which we will see later, are part of BIMSTEC, which in turn is part of our Look East and Act East policy. Under this, you will be surprised to know that India has supplied BrahMos missiles to Pakistan. I'll come to that later, right? Then India is also moving East Asia investment as it tries to build infrastructure in transport, communication and power sectors to keep pace with its expanding economy, countries like Japan and South Korea. Then India has entered into a number of pacts and agreements, free trades with Thailand, Singapore, and plans to create a free trade area with Brunei, Indonesia, and Malaysia. Our cooperation with all these countries, especially economic cooperation, is all-time high. Then forced India to focus on development of Northeast. That's why you can find suddenly, especially in 2000, a separate ministry is being created in central government called Northeast, Government for Northeast. A separate minister, initially it was Arun Shourie, who was also disinvestment minister in Mr. Vajpayee's cabinet. Now today we are focusing quite a lot in development of our own northeastern region, right? So it compelled India. As I said, many good things India does not out of choice but out of compulsion. And thanks to our Look East policy, that India started concentrating on Northeast also. Then India has concluded a number of bilateral and multilateral projects aimed at enhancing connectivity between Northeast of India and Southeast of Asia, right? This also will be an important element in the success of our Look East policy, especially connectivity between our Northeast and Southeast Asia, right? All these projects are part of it. That is 165-kilometer long Indo-Myanmar Friendship Road, India-Myanmar Thailand Trilateral Highway, Trans-Asian Highway, India-Myanmar rail linkages, Kaladan Multimodal Project and Sitwell Road, Myanmar-India-Bangladesh Gas Oil Pipeline, right? Tomanti Electricity Project. All these are part of our BIMSTEC, which in turn is part of our Look East policy. Optical fiber is being laid, network between Northeast and Southeast. Today, in order to strengthen this, we have even built optical fiber below the sea from India right up to Andaman Nicobar, which is near Indonesia and Singapore, right? Then India's trade with East Asia was less than 10% of India's global trade in 1991. Today it stands at almost 25%. Impact of Look East policy. International trade of goods and services is now a strong driver of India's growth, rising from 17% of GDP in 1991 to 42% in 2004. Right. So this was something about Look East policy. Now, what is Act East policy? Act East policy, is it in opposition to Look East policy? No. It is addition to our Look East policy. Sometimes it is even called as India's Look East policy 2. Right? Now, what is Act East policy and how it is different from Look East policy? Sometimes questions can be asked between the difference between the two. Right? So, let us see the origins of our Act East policy. Right? After the success of Look East policy, we increased our engagement in this region through our Act East policy. Now, what was Act East policy? It was originally conceived by Mr. Vajpayee in 2002 at a lecture in Singapore, right? He says, India's position in Asian Pacific to be geographical reality and a political fact. Means here our engagement is not temporary in this region, it is going to be an enduring fact, right? But as I said, he did not stay in power for long. 2004, he was voted out of power to ensure the implementation of Act East policy. And after that, we had very corrupt regimes, and though Look East policy was continued, but not in any substantial way, right? Then Act East policy, then it is Narendra Modi who picked up from where Mr. Vajpayee left. See, during regime of Mr. Vajpayee, it was only at the level of idea. And it is said that any idea finds its fulfillment in action. And it was left to the Prime Minister Narendra Modi to actually bring our Act East policy on the ground. right? Right? Act East policy. Now it emphasizes more proactive role of India in this region by forging strategic partnership, security cooperation with other countries, especially Vietnam, Japan, and aligning with US policy and pivot of Asia in this region. What is the policy of United States, especially as articulated by the then President of America, Barack Obama? New Asia pivot or rebalancing in Asia Pacific, right? To contain China. The main purpose, of course, it will not be written in any documents or paper. In diplomacy, many things are done covertly, right? So the main purpose was to contain growing influence of China in this region, right? So Act East policy goes much beyond Look East policy. We will see it later, right? Then, unlike Look East policy, Act East policy is not confined to ASEAN. It is not ASEAN centric. It includes other nations also, like America, Australia, Japan, South Korea, and other countries. It extends to other countries also, right? Is outreach to wider Asia Pacific, extending from Japan to countries in South Pacific. Act East is different, means, 1 minute, let me explain you this, right? Now, there are 3 important differences between our Look East and Act East policy. Although, as I said, Act East is not antithesis of Look East, rather it is extension, the logical outcome of Look East. What are the 3 fundamental differences? Firstly, Look East was ASEAN centric. It was confined to ASEAN region. Whereas Act East believes in wider engagement with East Asia also. It is not ASEAN centric. It involves countries like, as I said, USA, South Korea, Japan, Australia, and all these countries, besides ASEAN region. Secondly, it is not confined to mere economic cooperation. It extends to other areas also, like diplomatic, military, strategic, and all kinds of other areas as well, right? And then developing our Northeast region, making it a corridor towards East and Southeast Asia, and under which many infrastructural projects are being taken in northeast of the country in order to ensure its connectivity with Southeast Asia. Then deepening relationship with Bangladesh and Myanmar, as I already said, 2 countries that are critical for the success of our Look East policy, developing connectivity and other bilateral relations. Then India has certain inherent advantages in this, like, as I said, from China, India believes in using soft power, right? First grants diplomatic freedom to small countries. Its footprints are light, does not go directly for mines and minerals the way China does. And there is already so much of opposition to this kind of approach by China in most of the countries, especially African countries and Southeast Asian countries also, right? Believes in going slow, civil society, cultural relations. See, our entire approach of investment is very different from China. As I said, our footprint is quite light, unlike China. So because of all these reasons, these countries, consider India to be a better bet when compared to China, despite economic might of China, right? Then Indian naval ships make frequent friendly port calls to Vietnam, right? India has gone to the extent of supplying BrahMos missiles to Vietnam, and not only that, India is also, one of the companies, ONGC, government-owned company, is helping Vietnam for offshore drilling, which is much to the annoyance of China, right? All these are part of our Act East policy, right? And we are actively engaging Japan. Japan is helping out India with all kinds of infrastructural projects to ensure that our Act East policy succeeds. America is also tactfully helping India through our treaty of COMCASA, which we signed with America. In order to know about COMCASA, please hear my lecture on India-US relations, right? As a result, all this purpose is to contain China. Now, how Look East policy is different, or Act East policy is different from Look East policy? As I said, it is improvement over that, right? In three fundamental ways. First, Look East policy was confined to ASEAN region, whereas Act East, expands India's engagement by involving all other countries, engagement not only in Southeast Asia, but even in Asia Pacific, right? So the thing is that, and it includes countries like America, Australia, Japan, South Korea, besides Southeast Asia. And secondly, it is not merely confined to economic cooperation. It extends to other areas like strategic, defense, diplomatic, political, all kinds of, it spills over into all. The Quad is one of the aspects of this policy. The Quad, that is quadrilateral between India, Japan, Australia and America, right? And purpose, third important difference is, purpose is not merely to contain China in the region of Southeast Asia economically, but purpose is to contain China everywhere. And secondly, objective is much broader, that is objective is not to attack China or to destroy China, no. Objective is to finish the Dadagiri of China in this region, to compel China abide by rule-based international order, right? Which right now China is quite unwilling to abide. So with this kind of groupings, we can compel China to abide by rule-based international order. So these are the different, this is the difference between Look East and Act East policy. Now, what could be the possible questions? Possible questions could be on Look East policy, or it could be on the difference between Look East and Act East policy. As I said, there are three primary differences, and all these projects like BIMSTEC, building of infrastructural projects are all part of our Look East, or rather Act East policy. So these are the three differences you can highlight. Questions could be on the context and the compulsions for Look East policy, which I have already explained in the beginning, right? The context in which we've formulated, and how Look East policy is different from Act East policy, right? I hope it will be clear. To cut the long story short, Act East policy is continuation of Look East policy. It differs from Look East policy in three fundamental ways. Firstly, it is not ASEAN centric but includes other countries which I have mentioned. Secondly, it is not confined merely to economic cooperation but extends to other areas like strategic and all that. Thirdly, the purpose is not merely to contain China in Southeast Asia, but purpose is to contain China everywhere, right? So that China also abides by, purpose is to compel China abide by rule-based international order, right? With this I conclude. Thanks.